Now when I split, and I always split, I use a broad bladed thin old knife. I'd hate to think how many times this knife has split hives, and I just find that seam and I go around and I cut through where they have sealed on the inside. And with that knife I can just pry it open. The reason why I don't like to have the divider plate on this side is you get occasions when you've got a little bit of brood on the one side and more brood on the other, and it's hard to just take a bit more brood if you've got a dividing plate on both sides. That's just the way I do it. Some people will disagree, but it makes for quick splitting. And I have split virtually every month of the year, but I've now stopped splitting from about the end of December to the middle of February, because in this part of the world that's when the bees are bringing lots of Gadaji resin, and if you give them a new empty bottom box particularly, some bees will put a lot of Gadaji in there and just waste a lot of space. I've told you that I use this thin broad bladed knife to cut the inner seal, and I don't use tape when I put them back together. What I do is I use a paint scraper. I've got a number of these. I suppose you can still buy them. They've got a little sharp bird edge there. And to remove any structure that's stuck on there, I just scrape it along that surface, all the mating surfaces, because some of the gunk can really stick hard, and that's a good way of removing it. So that when you put your components back together again, you don't have any solid pieces there. You might have a few bees that get squashed, just a bit of a wriggle, push it together, and you've got a good clean mated surface. Okay, well, traditionally we put a plate in the top to stop the bees from growing their nest any further north, and that top box, that top section, the honey super, is where they've stored their honey. And I guess everyone knows about poking holes in it and then tipping it over a container to catch the honey, and eventually a good bit of the honey will drain out, along with a certain amount of pollen and gunk and broken up resin. And to my way of thinking, the honey that you collect that way is pretty horrible stuff. So I decided, and out of frustration, most people finish getting a spatula and digging the whole lot of the residue out and straining it, and then tossing all the good work that the bees have done out. Now, I experimented with doing something a little bit different. I made a honey spinner. Once again, a prototype that I could have made look smarter. I can put the two lids in there and take it for a spin, and it should be bolted down. But it is quite effective, very effective in spinning the residue of honey and pollen and resin out. But the honey still is contaminated and tastes like crap. So I thought if my honey supers was shallower, it'd be better. Little did I know that a real smart boy from Brisbane by the name of Nick Powell was doing very, very similar experiments. I experimented with 32 mil thick. It was a little better than the 45 mil deep leads, but still I couldn't isolate the honey cells from any pollen, because sometimes the pollen is hidden underneath, it's out of sight. But in due course, I got down to making what Nick calls series supers. I've got into the habit of calling them honey frames. They're much shallower, but they are deep enough that the bees will make a large single honey pot. And when you get that frame full of honey, if there is any pollen in it, you can see it quite visibly. If you want to, you can get a spoon and dig it out. You can spike all your honey, your honey pots, being careful not to over spike it. I don't care if some pots don't get spiked properly. I can then put it in 2 frames at a time in here and take them for a spin as I did earlier. But I think this concept is a good one for those who want to harvest honey. I don't normally bother much with honey, but this concept, it has the potential for people to harvest good, clean honey without pollen. But it's too much bother having a spinner like that, so I decided there had to be a better way. And what I've got here is a stainless steel version of something I saw in a beekeeping book that was given to me on my 16th birthday. That frame that's been punctured, go in there, and just like the old hula hoop, away we go. Starting off nice and slow, and if you want to, you can really give it a spin dry.
Yeah, wow.
You like that, Nick?
Yeah.
Good. That's yours, mate. I made that one for you.
Thank you.
I don't know whether it's the ultimate way of taking honey, but it's simple. And unless an idea is simple and practical, to me it's really not worth mucking around with.